Okay, so I want you to just picture the last time you felt truly rejected.
Right.
Maybe you didn't get an invite to a wedding.
Oh, that's a classic.
Right. Or maybe you poured your heart into a presentation and your boss just, looked at their phone the whole time. It stings. It feels physically heavy.
It's one of the most universal human experiences. I really don't think there's a single person listening who hasn't felt that pit in their stomach.
Exactly. But the material we are diving into today, it takes that feeling and completely reframes it. We are not talking about hurt feelings or social awkwardness.
Not even standard psychological wounds.
No, according to our source material, we are talking about a dangerous weapon.
It's a really radical shift in perspective. We're usually told to just brush rejection off or process it emotionally. But today, we are looking at a transcript of a service and a sermon by Reverend Paulette Mpuma Banim.
From New Beginning Ministries.
Exactly. And she's not treating this as an emotion. She defines rejection as a spiritual entity, a spirit that attacks what she calls the spirit man.
And that term, spirit man, that's really the foundational concept here. Before we get into all the scary stuff, and there is some scary stuff, we should probably clarify what she means.
Right. So in this theological framework, a person isn't just a body and a brain. You have your physical body, you have your soul, your mind, will, emotions, and then deepest of all, you have the spirit man.
The core operating system.
That's a great way to put it. It's the part that connects to the divine. And her argument is that rejection is like a virus that bypasses the mind and attacks that core operating system directly.
Which just raises the stakes so much. If this was just about feeling sad, you could, go to therapy, eat some ice cream.
Right.
But the source describes something much more mechanical and aggressive. It's painted as something that enters a person, often silently, lies dormant, and then activates.
To destroy them from the inside out.
Yeah.
And what's compelling to me is that she acknowledges psychological trauma, but she treats it as a symptom, not the root cause. She's building this framework where rejection fundamentally changes how you operate.
How you worship, how you relate to family.
And, maybe most controversially, how your physical health holds up.
So, let's look this beast in the eye. The Reverend describes rejection as a spirit that can lie dormant. She actually uses the imagery of a snake.
A snake that lies quiet until it's activated by the enemy. That's the key image. It's camouflaged. And because it targets the spirit man, the symptoms aren't always what you'd expect.
Yeah, most people think of rejection, they picture someone crying in a corner, withdrawing.
Wearing sweatpants for 3 days straight.
The classic breakup montage.
Exactly. And that is one side of it, for sure. But she highlights this counterintuitive symptom that I think will resonate with a lot of the high performers listening right now.
Yeah.
Overachievement.
This part really stopped me in my tracks. The idea that perfectionism isn't just ambition, but a shield.
Precisely. She describes people who feel they have to overdo everything. The best in business, perfect appearance, the perfect parent who bakes organic cookies from scratch. But the driver isn't joy.
It's a defense mechanism.
It is. The internal logic is, if I am perfect, you can't reject me. If I am indispensable, you can't leave me.
That is just exhausting. Thinking about living that way makes me tired. It's performance as survival.
It is. You're competing just to prove you have a right to exist.
Yeah.
It's this frantic energy.
Yeah.
But then she flips the coin. If one side is a hyperactive perfectionist, the other is what she calls the living death.
And this sounded much more tragic. This is the lights are on, but nobody's home situation.
That's exactly it. The extreme end of the spectrum. She gives this example of a woman she ministered to who would just sit for an hour staring blankly, physically there, but spiritually and mentally gone.
Wow.
She argues that rejection can hit so hard, it essentially shuts down your ability to interact with reality. You become a shell.
Yeah.
The spirit man has been crushed.
To illustrate these different reactions, the fighter versus the victim, she brings in two biblical figures. And, interestingly, they share the same name.
The tale of two Tamars. It's a brilliant comparison.
So let's break these down. The contrast is really stark. Tamar number 1. This is from Genesis 38.
Right. This is Judah's daughter-in-law.
Mm.
Her backstory is incredibly rough.
Yeah.
She marries the first son. He dies. She marries the second son. He dies too.
Not a great track record.
Not at all. So the father-in-law, Judah, he promises her his third son, Shelah. But then he gets scared. He's thinking, this woman is cursed. She's killing my boys.
So he ghosts her.
He does. He sends her away and just withholds the marriage he promised. That is the act of rejection. She's completely cast aside.
And her reaction is, well, it's definitely not to sit in a corner and stare at the wall.
No. She goes on the offensive. She realizes she's being marginalized, erased from the family line.
Yeah.
So she disguises herself as a prostitute, tricks her own father-in-law into sleeping with her, he has no idea it's her, and gets pregnant by him.
Just to secure her place in the lineage. Wow, talk about taking matters into your own hands.
It's extreme rebellion. But the Reverend uses this to show that rejection can lead to that. It can drive a person to defy norms, to manipulate, to do whatever it takes to prove, I exist and I have value. It's that perfectionist on steroids.
So that's the fight response. Then we have Tamar number 2 from 2 Samuel 13. This is King David's daughter.
This is a much darker, much more tragic story. She is pure victim here. Her half-brother Amnon becomes obsessed with her. He fakes an illness to get her into his room and he rapes her.
Horrifying.
Yes, but, and the source material emphasizes this heavily, the ultimate destruction wasn't the assault itself.
It was what happened right after.
Yes. The text says that immediately after the act, Amnon hated her more than he loved her. He calls his servants and has her thrown out and the door locked behind her.
That switch from obsession to just cold, absolute rejection, that's chilling.
And for her spirit, that is the killing blow. She was wearing a royal robe, a sign of her status. She tears it apart, puts ashes on her head, a biblical sign of mourning and death, and she leaves. And we never really hear from her again.
She becomes one of those living dead people.
Exactly.
So one Tamar fights back with manipulation, the other collapses and vanishes. It really shows the scope of how this spirit can manifest. But the big question the sermon tackles is, how does it get in? If it's a virus, there has to be an infection point.
The entry points. And yeah, she spends a lot of time on childhood vulnerabilities.
She does, and honestly, this section was a real wake-up call. She argues that a child's security is established in the first year of life. If that foundation is cracked, rejection gets in.
She lists these specific triggers.
Mm.
Some are, deeply traumatic, like abuse or rape. But she also lists things that might seem less severe, but are just as damaging, like harsh parental criticism.
The bedwetting example she gave was visceral. I physically cringed reading it.
It was hard to listen to. Shaming a child publicly for wetting the bed, taking the mattress outside for everyone to see, that public humiliation just destroys a child's sense of safety. And then there's the Joseph complex.
Why can't you be like your brother?
Exactly that. Favoring one child, giving Joseph the coat of many colors, it creates a vacuum of rejection in the others. But here's where it gets really interesting for modern parents. She warns against the Disney illusion.
Yeah, this seems so counterintuitive. We think protecting kids is good. A magical childhood, the good guys always win?
But she argues that overprotection is a trap. If you create this Disney life and shield them from the reality of spiritual warfare or just difficulty, you're making them fragile. When they finally face the real world and realize it's not Disney,
they feel rejected by reality itself, because they were never given the tools to fight.
it's like sending a soldier into battle with a squirt gun because you didn't want them to know about bullets. You have to build spiritual resilience, not just a bubble of happiness.
Don't lie to your kids about the nature of the world.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And to prove that kids are capable of handling these deep spiritual realities, she drops some genuinely spooky anecdotes.
Spooky is putting it lightly. Her whole point is we shouldn't dismiss what kids say.
She tells a story about a 5-year-old girl who dreamed of snakes crowning her as a queen. But the one that really stood out was Joseph, the 6-year-old boy from Benin.
That story was wild. The boy refused communion because he said he had left his body.
Right. I mean, picture this. A 6-year-old in church claiming he's astral projecting. He told the reverend he couldn't take communion because his spirit had traveled back to Africa to consult his father, who was apparently involved in the occult.
That sounds like a scene from a horror movie.
It does, but her point isn't just to be scary. It's to say, children are open doors. They're spiritually sensitive. If parents don't listen, other things like rejection or something darker will take up residence. She's saying, pay attention.
Okay, so rejection starts early, it settles in, and then we hit adulthood. This is where the source material links it to some very serious physical consequences. And I think for some listeners, this is where it might get difficult to digest. She draws a direct line between infidelity and terminal illness.
This is a fascinating part of her framework. She explains that marriage creates a spiritual bond, a one-flesh dynamic. When a spouse cheats, they are signaling that the marriage is dead to them.
And that signal.
That signal, she argues, invites the spirit of death to attack the faithful partner.
So just to be clear on her logic, the person who got cheated on is the one who gets sick.
In her observation, yes. She mentions noticing a pattern of women with terminal diseases whose husbands had been unfaithful.
Mm.
It's a harsh diagnosis. It says the innocent party bears the physical brunt because the hedge of protection was broken.
That feels incredibly unfair. It's like adding injury to insult.
It does, but it fits her logic of rejection as a weapon. If
Right.
you're rejected by your other half, your spirit takes a massive blow, and she argues that eventually shows up in the body.
She backs this up with that story about the woman from the Special
Oh,
Forces.
the woman who had been poisoned in the Middle East, yes.
Right. So this woman has had multiple surgeries. They removed her uterus. She's literally dying. But the Reverend claims the blockage to her healing wasn't the poison.
No, it wasn't the poison. It was her behavior and her heart. The woman confessed she only dated married men.
Wow.
Yeah, rejecting single men because she lost interest as soon as they became available. But the real key, the thing that was actually killing her, according to the source, was her relationship with her mother.
She hated her mother.
Refused to forgive her. And the Reverend stood firm on the commandment. Honor your father and mother so that your days may be long. She told the woman, I can't override God's law. If you don't honor your mother, the spirit of death has a legal right to you.
Legal right. She uses that legal language a lot.
It's a very judicial view of spirituality. Rules, laws, rights. It's not about feelings. It's about standing in a spiritual court.
And the resolution of that story.
She forgave her mother, honored her, and the source claims she was healed and out of the hospital a week later. It really emphasizes that physical health is downstream from spiritual health.
And rejection, giving it or receiving it, is a blockage that stops life from flowing.
Exactly.
So if rejection is this pervasive spirit that ruins our health, our relationships, our self-worth, what's the cure? She's pretty clear you can't just wish it away.
It requires a fight. You have to exchange the rejection for love. But my favorite part of the solution, and I think the most practical takeaway for anyone, regardless of your beliefs, was the green mango analogy.
I loved this visual. It made so much sense. Walk us through it.
So she describes a dream where God shows her a garden with ripe mangoes and green mangoes. And God asks, if you eat the green one, what happens? And she says, it's sour. It sets your teeth on edge.
And we've all met people like that, sour people.
We have. And the lesson is, you can't throw away people who are sour, who are hurtful or difficult, because they're simply unripe. You don't chop down the tree because the fruit isn't ready. You have to wait.
That is such a powerful shift. Instead of seeing someone as bad, you just see them as not ready yet.
It preaches patience. It creates distance between their behavior and your worth. But she combines this with a very practical tool she calls provisional forgiveness.
This sounded like a life hack for relationships, almost like accounting.
It really is. She says when you forgive someone, don't just forgive them for the past. Make a provision of forgiveness for the future.
Unpack that. How does that work?
Okay, so imagine you have a friend who's always late. Every time they do it, you get angry, you feel disrespected. Provisional forgiveness means you accept this person is unripe in the area of punctuality. So before you even meet them, you say to yourself, I forgive them for being late today, even though they haven't been late yet.
So you're not caught off guard. You've already budgeted for the hurt.
Precisely. It prevents the grudge from taking root. You say, I forgive you for yesterday, and I've already forgiven you for what you're probably going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
It disarms the offense. It keeps your spirit clean.
That's huge. But what about the people who really won't listen? The rebellious child, the stubborn spouse. She suggests a technique called speaking to the spirit man.
This is for when logic fails. And we've all been there. The Reverend suggests you stop arguing with the person's conscious mind. Instead, maybe when they're sleeping or in private prayer, you call out their name and speak directly to their spirit.
So you're not talking at them physically.
No. You're affirming love directly to their inner self. You say, I love you, God loves you, you are valuable, to their spirit. The idea is to bypass the ego, bypass the defensiveness, and speak life into that spirit man we talked about at the beginning.
It's spiritual communication intended to heal the wound without the argument.
Exactly. It's a way to love them when they are making it impossible to like them.
So let's zoom out. We've gone from rejection as a weapon, a snake, a spirit of death, to rejection as a manageable, albeit difficult, spiritual hurdle.
We have. And what stands out is the holistic nature of it. In this worldview, your childhood trauma, your current relationships, your physical health, your spiritual life, they're all completely entangled.
You can't fix one without addressing the others.
Right. You can't heal your body if you hate your mother. And this all connects back to the learner profile we talk about.
Yeah.
Even if you don't subscribe to the specific theology, The psychological insights are potent. Think about provisional forgiveness.
Right.
That is essentially managing expectations and building emotional resilience. It's a cognitive tool that stops you from spiraling every time someone lets you down.
Right.
It gives you agency back.
That's a great takeaway. You don't have to be in the pews to understand that pre-forgiving people saves you a lot of stress.
And the green mango concept. It changes how you view difficult people. It moves you from judgment to patience. That's a universal skill.
Absolutely. It frames life as a garden, not a courtroom. Well, we're just about out of time, but I want to leave you with one final thought. We talked about the green mango, seeing other people as unripe. But what if we turned the mirror on ourselves?
Oh, that's interesting.
If you viewed your own mistakes, your own sour moments, not as failures or reasons to reject yourself, but simply as evidence that you are not fully ripe yet, how would that change the way you speak to yourself in the mirror tomorrow morning?
That is a profound question. It turns self-rejection into self-patience. And that might be the most important cure of all.
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.